Team, I'm checking in with you this morning. I'm out with the revision retrievers and I wanted to talk through just some really basic hacks I use to try and get myself to gain a bit of momentum. And first up, I want to start off by just being honest about how I work and my approach and some of the challenges I go through. I want you to understand that I get distracted, I waste time, I do things I shouldn't be doing that aren't the priority right now, and I have all the same struggles as you do in terms of just trying to get stuff done each day, and the constant challenge between doing what you know. If you're in a totally balanced state of mind, you're stepped back from the situation, so to speak, or you're separated from it and you make those good decisions. The long-term thinking of, okay, if I do this thing, like say go to the gym every day or every other day, or get a little bit of work done each day, I can see how I can actually get smarter, more intelligent. I become, a more valuable member of society and my prospects go up. Long-term, that battle between that long-term thinking, which really deep down you want to do, but it's tough to make yourself do these tasks because the punchline is these tasks require effort, they require willpower, application, determination, accountability, responsibility, all those things that are difficult. That's why they are well respected and desirable, because they're tough to achieve, tough to obtain. That's the punchline behind why anything is desirable, really, because it's difficult to do. Whereas the easy thing, the passive stuff, the browsing the internet randomly, going on social media and just scrolling around, clicking on stuff. Even, and I like gaming. I did loads of it when I was young. I mean kind of that age of about, I got started on the PS2. Well, actually, a PlayStation. Which was this little thing you popped up and put a CD into. It's pretty classic, actually. But I was gaming from a real young age, like maybe 6, 7. It wasn't really called gaming back then either. It was just let's have a crack on the PlayStation kind of thing. And I was doing it all the way up to probably 18. Pretty heavy, and then at uni, obviously, it was just the odd game of FIFA here and there. And now I don't do that much of it, but thinking of getting back into it because I know that a lot of you guys are back on it, and I want to see if Matekas has left me or not. Anyway, what I was going to say is that's obviously another form of distraction where, to a certain extent, it does require effort because there's different levels of gaming, but and how good you are. But it doesn't really require the same effort on the level of doing the work, doing your schoolwork, doing something to really build yourself in a way that's tough to do. You can't just sit in front of a screen and click a few buttons. You've got to sit there and think and really, really hammer out some ideas and get yourself going. And it's tough to do. But here's a few things, if this helps, that I try and do just to get the ball rolling each day, just to try and make each day as much of a success as it can be. And I have good days, I have bad days, but I just try and make sure that I'm knocking off a few more good days than bad days every so often. So first up, what I do is either the night before or in the morning, I'll write down what I need to do that day, and I'll try and keep it really simple. I won't try and do too much, because whenever I try and do too much, I don't do it because I just get overwhelmed. I've got too many tasks, and I don't see them as individual tasks. I see them as one massive kind of onslaught of crazy things I got to do, and then my brain just gets a bit scrambled and I don't end up doing any of it. So I try to keep it sensible. So I usually just go for maybe 3-4 tasks. Depending on size, obviously, I try and estimate that. I don't estimate any timings, I just write down the tasks. And then I'll try and work as quickly as I can on each of them, knocking them off the list, getting through stuff, and generally just trying to build a bit of momentum up. But of course I come into roadblocks and I get distracted, or if one task is particularly challenging and something comes up that means I can't go forward anymore, I've got to do more research, or I've got to figure something else out, what I'll often do is just pick another task and just treat it as the one task that needs to get done within the next hour or so, and almost pretend that my whole life is just about this one task and getting it done. And what that does is it just calms me down a bit and says, look, don't worry about all the other crap you have to do. Just focus on this one thing. If you get this one thing done, cracking work. We can continue onwards and upwards after that, but just focus on this one thing, be laser focused. And it's almost just like, I'll use a football analogy here. You know that you've got to do the shuttle runs in training, and you've got to practice, cross-field balls, kind of 50-yard David Beckham rakers. But it's not going too well. You're finding that you're hitting the ball with too much curl or whatever, and you're not finding your man or your girl over the other side of the pitch, and you just say, okay, let's just break it down, let's do some 5-yard 2-touch stuff to just build up some momentum, let's get something right. And your exam equivalent of that is just pick a topic that you don't know still, don't just revise stuff that you do know, because that's just kind of a false sense of achievement. But pick a topic that you don't know, but one that you can imagine not being as tough as perhaps the really big one that you tried to nail in the morning and your brain just got a bit fried. So there's one thing you can do there. I think the other thing is making the distinction between kind of this idea of deep work. I think a guy called Cal Newport coined it. Deep work, just being really able to focus. My takeaway from that book that he made on deep work and focus is, if you've got one thing to focus on, you've got an hour-long period of just controlled focus, you're much more likely to get more high-quality work done than if you're jumping around a lot and focusing on many different things. What I would say is, don't think that the ability to be able to hop between many different tasks, such as, for example, texting, to making posts on social media, to learning something, is not a skill worth having. I think it absolutely is. For example, at VaynerMedia, I was doing that the whole time. When you're working in a company, you need to be on it in terms of, okay, who's contacting me? Who do I need to get back to? What work do I need to hand in for my next meeting? It's all deadlines, it's all speed and being able to do many things and keep all the plates spinning in the air and not let anything drop. Whereas there's other jobs where you can just get into the zone a bit more and just focus on one thing and knock that out and not have to contend with any distractions. And that's obviously just a different type of work. Do I think you can get more high quality stuff done in that environment? Yeah, absolutely. But it doesn't mean the skill set of being able to hop to many things is very, very useful. In fact, I wasn't very good at it when I started at Vayner. I developed that a bit throughout my time there, learned a whole new skill set, and the exams had really helped me actually to focus on the big important things, the chunky things where you can sit down and just dominate one thing for a while. So just define those two skill sets for yourself and always be working on them. One thing to obviously bear in mind is, with your exams, you could apply that more sporadic kind of thinking that I just described at VaynerMedia, where you're hopping between tasks. Let's say you are spending a lot of time on social media. Perhaps if you're in that kind of cycle, you say, okay, let's not try and fight against it too much. Let's accept that I'm a bit sporadic today. Why don't I revise a topic that I don't know, but a topic that might not be that meaty, juicy, and require me to get into a really deep thought work cycle and spend a lot of time with it. In fact, what I can do is just look at some topics that I could revise in between my sessions of distraction, and you could do it that way. Perhaps it's learning a few words, learning a few phrases. Perhaps it's learning a few dates in history, or learning 5 quotes in English. Stuff like that, just to keep the ball rolling, just to try and create a little win. It's a bit like saying, the sports team goes out, you don't have a good day on the pitch, you're really not firing on all cylinders, but somehow you manage to salvage a draw. Or you lose, but you score a goal off a set piece. So that's a positive. It's that kind of mindset of just trying to bring a little win out of something that doesn't seem salvageable. And you just got to trust me on this. Like my experience, having done exams, having had a job, having a number of jobs, from all the way from kind of litter picking, greenkeeping, being a waiter, all sorts, to corporate jobs where I'm working with very experienced people who know what they're talking about, and I'm very much in a learner state, to kind of owning my own business and having to just figure out, okay, what are we going to do today? Or what am I going to do today, rather? That kind of stuff is just it's so important, that level of thinking, to develop that in yourself, and to be able to always find a win, no matter what. It keeps up momentum, it keeps you going, and long term, it might not seem day to day like you're making huge waves, but I tell you what, long term, something's going to come, and you're going to say, wow, I didn't realize it was going to be like that. But then you look back and you say, hey, wait a minute, I've actually been dominating here. I've been making little wins consistently.